In 1993, Kazakhstan was the first Central Asian country to launch Bolashak Presidential Scholarship. Over the years, Bolashak, which means future in Kazakh, has given chance to thousands of talented young Kazakh people to study abroad. I'm going to talk today to Ainur Karbozova, president of the Bolashak Center for International Programs, about the development of the program over the past years. Thank you for joining us today. It's been 28 years since the launch of the Bolashak program. Could you tell us about some of the major milestones in the development of the program over the past years?
It's very nice to meet you today. Yes, indeed, you're right. This year, on the 5th of November, we will have 20 years for Bolashak Presidential Scholarship development, and for this period of time, more than 14,000 of Kazakhstan citizens were awarded Bolashak Presidential Scholarship, and more than 11,000 of them are program graduates working on their specialties in Kazakhstan market for the benefit and development of our country. So on the major milestones of the program development, you know that the timing when the scholarship was launched and established, those were early years of our country's independence, and the first president, leader of the nation, Nursultan Nazarbayev, took this quite a very important historic decision to prioritize investment to the human capital development for the most young gifted people to be sent abroad, not just to every foreign university, but to the best university, to study and to return back and to start massively contribute to our country's development. And first decade was really about prioritizing mainly those areas country was in need, as for lawyers, economists, financiers, in 1994 and early 2000. On the one hand, there were a limited number of selected and studied abroad Bolashak scholarship holders, but those were also studying in the limited number of countries, only 5 to 6, and those were the United Kingdom, the United States, and some of the European countries. Every period of the program development, the program was taking into consideration and was headed by the major labor market demands and state policy priorities. The second period of Bolashak Presidential Scholarships development is really early 2000. Quite an important decision was made to increase number of annual awarded scholarships and number of studying abroad students taken together up to 3,000. And the sole administrator of the scholarship, us, the Center for International Programs, 100% owned by the government, and the Ministry of Education and Science was established. Priorities of the second period of programs development was more to send to study for medicine, for engineering, technical specialties, and so every period of programs development, program was changing its direction and areas of preparation in strict accordance with the demand on our country's labor market.
And how do you think was the initial goal envisioned back in 1993 achieved?
Well, indeed, there is no doubt to just question whether the goal was achieved, or whether the program was effective enough to meet initial goals. As I already pointed out, in this 20 years of programs development, more than 14,000 of our country's most gifted and the strongest specialists were studied abroad, and 11,000 graduates. We can easily confirm that each of them massively contributing to their specific areas of profession. They were some of the efficiency, cost effectiveness reports done from time to time, and the latest one we made on just measuring the efficiency of the program and the efficiency of the Bolashak graduates in particular was back in last November 2020, and we called it Bolashak Impact Report 1. So we aim to continue this research this year as well. Qualitative and quantitative effectiveness can be easily tracked, and we took major areas of their professions as medicine, education, healthcare, education, industry, public service, and so on and so forth. And if we take as an example just healthcare alone, so we have more than 700 graduates in the sphere of medicine and healthcare, and among these 700 medicine graduates of Bolashak program, around 500 are practicing doctors and general practitioners in the field of healthcare, and all of them taken together, let's say in 2019, they made quite important and quite serious surgeries to more than 200 Kazakhstan citizens. So that says more than 200,000 lives were saved by Bolashak graduates. And if we take education, for example, then we have more than 1,000 program graduates, and they taught and educated more than 145,000 kids around the country. So they contributed to education of our young generation, and they also share their knowledge and experience in this specific area, quite important area of our country's development. And if we take graduates with scientific degrees, then those were authors of more than 100 scientific articles published in the leading world scientific, international scientific magazines, spreading the word about Kazakhstan's education and science. That's also a huge contribution, showcasing where is Kazakhstan and where Kazakhstan science stands in terms of our current status of development, and that's only about contribution made by the Bolashak Presidential Scholarship graduates.
I believe these are indeed very significant figures and information that you just mentioned.
And moreover, in accordance to this Bolashak Impact Report 1 research we made last year, more than 50% of those 11,000 graduates of the program, they are now on the high level of executive management, meaning that they are all decision makers. They make important decisions in everyday life, and more than 10% of our graduates are owners or heads of their own companies. That's also important in terms of development of the small and medium business, and in general developing and contributing to our country's economy's development.
In fact, the contribution of the program is hardly possible to question, like you said.
Yeah.
And also, my next question concerns the coronavirus outbreak. Last year we've seen a very unprecedented year, and I would like to know, how did it affect the implementation of the program?
Well, yes, that was quite a challenging year for us as well. but we did try to do our best in terms of immediate reaction to all these challenges our students, Bolashak students, were facing outside the country while continuing their studies abroad. We actually were working 24/7 just to immediately react in terms of organizing their departure from the countries of study and to safely bring them back to Kazakhstan for those who decided to leave to Kazakhstan and continue their studies online while staying in Kazakhstan. And those were mainly Bolashak students whose universities were shut, and they announced full online format of study. But those who couldn't leave their countries of study, and despite some of them, let's say in May, had their studies in accordance with the academic study plans terminated or finished, they had an opportunity to have monthly stipend continued in the period of May, June last year, given there was a lockdown, the borders were closed, and the planes were not flying between our country and those countries of study where our Bolashak students were located. The major support was done by the government as well. For those Bolashak students had to leave their studies from their countries of study and return back to Kazakhstan, they continued to have their stipends while studying in Kazakhstan.
Could you also tell us about some of the new features and new things introduced in the selection process?
Last year, there were new selection rules adopted by the government decree process, and the selection process were fully automated. So from last year and this year, including the applicants can apply documents only through the electronic government, and after they apply and their documents confirmed to comply with the requirements, they are automatically sent to the selection online portal, and they are sent not with their name or full surname, but they are sent by the unique
to ensure transparency, right?
Yeah, code that is done just to provide open and transparent selection process. So, and also selection processes were sufficiently decreased. If we had previously, before the new selection rules, around 6 selection processes, they were decreased up to 3. So, and those 2 major selection processes, including the complex testing and the individual interview with the independent experts commission, they're all online. For documents application and online complex testing and individual interview, one would need, I think, all around 3 and 3.5, maximum 4 hours. So it's quite sufficiently simplified, and all the stages of complex testing and individual interviewing, most importantly, are audio and video fixed. That is also done to just provide transparency and open selection process.
So over the past years, the topic of young people live in the country abroad, which we know as brain drain, has been on agenda for a while. What are your thoughts on the topic, and what is the potential role of Bolashak program in this as well?
That is, as you said, global trend. That is global movement, and Kazakhstan, I think, part of that global trend as well. But if we talk particularly about the Bolashak Presidential Scholarship, the graduates of the Bolashak Scholarship program, I would confidently say, is not part of that global trend, as we have legal legal instruments to provide their successful study abroad, their return back home, and their employment.
Thank you for joining us today.